Hello everyone, this is Tal Golden with the Deep Zone at the deep.zone, where symbol and number meet the heart and mind. Today is May 8th, 2020, and let's go on and get to it here right away. The last article that I put up on the blog is Kabbalcast Laurie Garrett, the author of The Coming Plague, as a prophet of doom in the mold of Cassandra of Troy by the numbers. Well, you know I like these lengthy titles because it tells you what you're about to read. And who is Laurie Garrett? Like we just said, she was the author of The Coming Plague, and I've got a picture of the cover on the screen right here. Actually, the entire title, and that's important because we're going to get to it later. The gematria of the entire title, it's pretty amazing. The Coming Plague: Newly Emerging Diseases in a World Out of Balance, and that was written in 1994, 26 years ago. And why is that important? Well, if we return to the article right here, we can see that, hold on, yeah, there we go, that the word Cassandra equals 26. And this book that she wrote, The Coming Plague, was written 26 years ago. Virus equals 26. Plague equals 26. And as we talked about in the last video, Dr. Charles Mach, we found out that the word mask equals 26 and the word air equals 26. So that's an important number in this round of propaganda and agenda fulfilling that the CFR and other bodies that that we're going to get to. And why is the CFR important? Because that's Garrett worked for the CFR, the Council of Foreign Relations, and we're going to get to them here in a little bit. But let's kind of back up a little bit. Who was Cassandra? This is a depiction of her before the Inferno of Troy, whenever it was conquered by the Greeks, and the Greeks jumped out of the Trojan horse. Cassandra, she foresaw all of that. She foresaw all that many times. When she recognized her brother, Paris, okay, who had been banished at a very young age because his father Priam had prophecy that the son would bring the destruction of the city. That's whenever he had him sent away rather than kill him. But whenever he finds out that Paris is actually his son, he brings him back into the family. All right, Cassandra tries to warn him about this. When the media says that she is a coronavirus Cassandra, the undertone of destruction is there. Let's go to the Wikipedia article just for a moment. Just for a moment. Here's a depiction of Cassandra pulling her hair out with red hair. Now, how did she get this gift of prophecy? Well, the myths kind of differ on this one right here. In the Iliad, the way Homer tells it, she was a priestess of Apollo, and she wanted to have the gift of prophecy herself, because that's what Apollo does. He is the god of prophecy. Well, whenever she asks for this gift, she promises to make love to Apollo in return for the gift. Well, when she gets it and everything, she goes back on that. Apollo, he cannot take the gift back, but he curses her by saying that no one will believe her prophecies, and that's the way it turns out. So when the media says that this Laurie Garrett, the author, very well respected, when they say that she is a coronavirus Cassandra, they're keying in on that mythological motif. Yes, you could see the wild look of hysteria in her eyes because of the visions of doom and suffering and murder and death that she sees coming. Not good. Okay, let's go back to what we were talking about here. Now, the parallels don't stop there, okay? Because if we go to our gematria, I'm going to keep that on the screen for a little bit because I'm going to talk about that. And let me go and clone this tab right here. Yeah, here we go. Apollo is 26 in the same full reduction cipher as the other ones. So Apollo equals 26. What else equals 26? The word God equals 26 in English ordinal gematria. The word flag equals 26. If we also run the numbers for Laurie Garrett and the coronavirus, we find out her name equals 155 in English ordinal. Coronavirus is 155 in English ordinal. Wow. And she writes about this book, The Coming Plague, 26 years ago, and all those things with that.
In an interview you did with the New York Times, headline, she predicted the coronavirus. What does she foresee next? You said that you see that the pandemic goes on for like 36 months.
Joining me now is Laurie Garrett, a columnist for Foreign Policy and a Pulitzer, Peabody, and Polk Award-winning writer and journalist whose book, The Coming Plague, decades ago warned about the dangers of emerging diseases like the coronavirus. You said, I've been telling everybody that my event horizon is about 36 months, and that's my best case scenario. So, okay, best case, worst case. Your best case scenario is 36 months. What does that 36 months look like?
We do have these apparently two new grim forecasts today. I want to ask you about the CDC report yet. We haven't seen all the numbers. The White House is saying it's not their numbers, but they're talking about by June 1st, 3,000 deaths a day.
Absolutely, Judy, and it's a huge explosive growth they're predicting. And it's basically, if you look at the distribution that they're imagining, it's really the prairie states, the sort of Mississippi Valley, and the deep South states.
Okay, now, Laurie Garrett, in that piece that we just saw, she predicts that the coronavirus pandemic will last for 36 months. She says 36 months instead of just saying the more convenient 3 years. And when we turn to Gematria, we see the reason why this number 36 is encoded in the propaganda, because the virus in question, COVID-19, in Gematria, it equals 36 in full reduction. And it also equals 63 in English ordinal Gematria. And this connects also to Laurie Garrett's former employer, the Council of Foreign Relations, the CFR. You know, we don't talk about this much in the Gematria community, but we probably should, because that's where the marching orders come from. If you don't believe me, let's go back up here to what we were talking about earlier. Here is Hillary Clinton. Let's see what she says in the very beginning of her
Thank you very much, Richard, and I am delighted to be here in these new headquarters.
Richard Haas, the
I have been often to, I guess, the mothership in New York City, but it's good to have an outpost of the council right here down the street from the State Department. We get a lot of advice from the council, so this will mean I won't have this far to go to be told what we should be doing and how we should think about the future.
Like I said, though, that's where the marching orders come from, the CFR. So whenever we look at their logo, there's some things we can kind of connect with all this. Because, you see, he's on a white horse. That is the white horse that is in the book of Revelation, Behold a Pale Horse. You remember that book by William Cooper back in the day? Behold a Pale Horse. Well, here is the pale horse. That is the symbol. That is the logo of the CFR. That's what they identify with, because the rider of death in the book of Revelation is the one that brings the famine and the pestilence. The rider is making a salute towards the sky. Now, some commentators have said that this is the Masonic sign of admiration and astonishment. It also looks very similar to the Nazi Heil Hitler salute. The CFR was created, it was founded in the year 1922, some years before Hitler comes along. But isn't that amazing how their gesture on the logo and Hitler's Heil Hitler look very similar to one another? We should probably also mention that 36 is code for 666, because 36, 3 sixes. Another connection that 36 has to all this is that 666 is the 36 triangular number. And what that means is if you take all the numbers from 1 to 36 and add them up, you end up with 666. Another word that shares this 36 connection that's very relevant to this discussion is the word tyranny. it equals 36 in full reduction and in reverse full reduction. Because that's where they're trying to take us into a tyranny, where they can tell us where to go, where we can't go, what we can buy, what we can't buy. They're probably going to try to force this vaccine that they're talking about on everyone. That's going to have your medical records onto it. We're finding out about that through ID 2020. That's called tyranny. Where's this tyranny coming from? Now, we just said that the White House gets its marching orders from the Council of Foreign Relations. Well, who does the Council of Foreign Relations work for? That's right, Wall Street. Wall Street equals 36 in full reduction. And it equals 63 in reverse full reduction. Goes right along with COVID-19, right along with tyranny. Because, see, the big players on Wall Street, the mega corporations, they're trying to stamp out their competition, the small business owners. One of the most infamous members of the CFR is Henry Kissinger, who really probably should be dead by now, as old as he is. But I guess that adrenochrome is good stuff. But anyway, Henry Kissinger summed it up in his infamous statement: depopulation should be the highest priority of U.S. foreign policy towards the third world. And like I said here in the blog article, the only thing to add to that is, since the days of Nixon, the third world has given the CFR valuable experience they seem to be putting to good use in 2020 America. Even the address of the Council of Foreign Relations in New York and Manhattan connects with this biblical imagery, because it's located at 58 East 68th Street in New York, on land that was donated by the Rockefeller family, by the way, another big-time CFR dude. White Horse equals 58. That matches up with the street number. Remember, we're talking about the rider death on the pale horse. Behold a pale horse. We find that in the book of Revelation at Revelation 6:8, which matches with the street. And the King James Version of Revelation 6:8 reads like this: And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. That's very striking imagery, very alarming imagery. It follows right along with Cassandra of Troy, the prophetess of doom that Laurie Garrett was compared to. Now, if we go back to where we started, Laurie Garrett, the author of The Coming Plague, her Gematria equals 155, and coronavirus equals 155. Laurie Garrett's name in full reduction equals 65, just like pandemic equals 65. Now, let's look at the Gematria of her book, The Coming Plague, which was written 26 years ago. It came out in 1994. The Coming Plague has Gematria. Let's look at the full reduction right here of 75. It also has English ordinal value of 156. Now, why is that important? Well, if we write out the term New Pearl Harbor, it also equals 75 and 156. 911 or 911 is the 156 prime number. And when she wrote this book in 1994, it was still the coming plague, but now it is the present plague and the past plague of 911 and the Patriot Act and the war on terrorism and the conquest of major parts of the Middle East, all in the name of freedom, what they told us, but in reality it was all about money and power over the human race. 69 in reverse full reduction. Laurie Garrett happens to be 69 years old. I looked for her birthday on Wikipedia. It did not list it, but it did say she was between 68 and 69 years old. And now she's back. The Cassandra that was proven right, everything she was saying all along these years, and everything has proven true. How about that? Now, if you agree that what we're experiencing now is not a pandemic, but a plandemic, you'll know what I'm talking about. If we put the whole title of the book, The Coming Plague, Newly Emerging Diseases in a World Out of Balance, okay, I'm going to talk about that out of balance here in just a moment, because there's something in that too, just that one phrase. But you can see we got some numbers right here. Now 65, in numerology, generally the zeros are not counted, so we can see that matches up with her name, Laurie Garrett, and the title of her book, both 65. If that seemed like a coincidence, let's move on with the rest of these numbers. 263 is the 56th prime number. Well, we know what 56 is, coronavirus. There's something else here with 907. Now, if we do the same thing we did over here by taking out the 0, 97, of course, is one of the death numbers. When you write out death in reverse ordinal, it equals 97. But 907 is also a prime number. Let's see what prime number it is. How about that? How about that? 907 is the 155th prime number. What is Laurie Garrett's Gematria? Her name Gematria? Let me go back here in case you forgot. 155. Coronavirus 155. When you look at the covers of the two editions I was able to find on the internet of The Coming Plague, you can see that this phrase out of balance is very much set off from the rest of the subtitle. And that same thing is, hold on, here it is, a little bit better. You can see that same thing is maintained in this version of the book. When I went to the calculator and typed in out of balance, you can see I ended up with 65 reverse full reduction, which matches up Laurie Garrett's name Gematria of 65. This is Tal Golden with the Deep Dot Zone, where symbol and number meet the heart and mind. Until next time.